Okay, sorry about that start. This is Steve, out here on the concrete pier facing Bremerton. This is the quintuple, that's 5W, which is the who, what, why, where, and when of the project. And it might be a little bit of a long video, so you might want to go to the shorter videos if you're pressed for time, but this is kind of an important one because it covers a lot of ground and it'll take a little bit longer, and I'm going to try to get through it really fast so I don't take an awful lot of your valuable time. You can drill down and look at the other videos based on what I say in this. So the first part is who we are, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but there's an awful lot of players in this because I've been involved in the recruiting space. I call it the recruiting space, which started out in garages and Holiday Inns in the late 70s, and I know people from the 70s that made a lot of money in the 70s all the way on through till now, and they make an absurd amount of money now for what they do. But it morphed into something more than just recruiting, which is recruiting to a business model where you get paid for an organization, which is not just network marketing. There's also direct selling, which is different. There's different kinds of compensation structures. A lot of people lump it all together as MLM or network marketing, and it's more nuanced than that. It's more complicated than that. It's not the same as it was back then, where it was always about the same kind of product, and it was always about the same amount of money, and it was always about a really primitive, crummy commission, and it was always about a lot of rah, sis, boom, bah, and really not a lot of professionalism and not a lot going on and a lot harder. It was just a lot harder. So it's morphed, I call it, into the IRS, which I joke about that or make up words that used to be a really nasty idea like Internet or Internal Revenue Service, IRS, and I've changed it into Internet Recruiting Segment or Internet Recruiting Space, where you are still doing the same thing you were doing 50 years or 60 years or 70 years ago, but you're using the Internet to do it. And that means that you get to do it outside of town. You don't just need to haul people, drag them by their ear to a Holiday Inn meeting that you can't tell them what the meeting is about in the first place, and then they get pissed off at you because it's Amway or because it's juice or whatever the heck it is. You can recruit in Russia and in New Zealand and in South Africa and in Eastern Europe now, easily, and in South America, all but one country or something. And you can build Amway in Costa Rica, where my friend who's never made any money in Amway, not significantly, buys his Amway products from his maids, from his mansion in Costa Rica that he's made on the internet, which has nothing to do with Amway, but he learned it all in Amway. Figure that one out, and you've got the recipe for a whole bunch of money. Most people don't realize that they really are in one of these network marketing companies in order to learn human behavior and selling and closing and organization development skills and list building and all of the things that you can learn from being in one of these. Whether you make any money or not doesn't matter. That's not what you're doing it for. You're doing it to change into somebody you weren't before you got involved. And most people don't want to change into somebody they're not. They want to stay the same way they are and sit on the couch and eat Cheetos and watch TV and hope they make some money. It doesn't work that way. Nope, doesn't. So who is also about who's coming to the dance. And we talk about the dance, the big dance, or they talk about the big dance when they talk about joining a major NFL team or NBA team or getting called up to the bigs. They call it the bigs, which would be the Major League Baseball, the major leagues. Who's coming to the dance? And in this project, it's major leaguers that are coming to the major leagues, which is us. Which is a lot of money, not a small amount of money, not $50 for an Amway kit, not $79 for some membership. No, this is big money, and it's big people coming to the dance, and we engineered it that way so we don't have to ask little people to come and not make any darn money, or damn money, damn Yankees. No, we want big people to come to the dance, and that's what we do, is invite big people to come to a very big dance with a very big agenda and make very big money and have a whole bunch of fun at the same time. They're helping the environment, which is the ultimate goal of the dance itself, to hopefully not go extinct by helping the world's life web or living web or wildlife habitat that is kind of important for us not to go extinct. If we lose the wildlife, then we sort of aren't going to be there anymore. Homer Gomer just sort of goes away fairly quickly. Also, who are the influencers? Who are the people who made this whole thing go bang in the first place? Well, they go back a long ways in time, it turns out. One of my favorites is Heron. And if you look Heron up, that's Heron, if you look Heron up and you look at the Wikipedia entry, it's spelled twice. First with Heron, I believe, don't quote me, I could be called wrong on this, but I believe Heron was the original name of the scientist in Alexandria, Egypt, about 2,000 years ago. And then there's a parenthesis around the end, and he's also known as Hero. And that's a departure from what he should be, which is essentially the Blue Heron character, which is the progressive, which is the inventor, which is the investigator, the questioner, the person who is like a squawking, screeching blue heron that doesn't pay any attention to anybody or any rules and just figures out how to fish all on their own. And this guy just sort of looked at somebody's notes from before, which is what almost all instantiators of ideas, which are not new, they're immortal, they've been here forever, they're just bringing them back from the dead one more time. And here comes robotics, best as he could do in 50 CE, that's Common Era, Alexandria, Egypt, right on the coast there, with his water and his pulleys and his ropes and his stuff that took the money for the church, and also made plays out of cool stuff. And he also figured out, from the notes of somebody who'd figured it out before him but didn't really get it together, a steam engine. He figured that one out too. And then, of course, we lost all of that to the big conflagration at the Alexandria Library a few years later. That was unfortunate, but it cost us both of those technologies between 1,800 and 2,000 years to get back, because the notes went poof, or something else bad happened in the Middle Ages or whenever. And Heron, I prefer to call him Heron, like a blue heron, sort of went away until we rediscovered all of that stuff almost on our own without his notes. And then, oh, by the way, later we figured out, oh, look, this guy already did it. We do that sometimes to ourselves. The next one is what, and that's kind of a really, really important part of the project, because everybody wants to know what's in it for me and what do I get out of the deal? What's my share? What's my cut? What's my take? Is there anything for me, or am I just giving my time and my money away and never going to see it again? And what you get is substantial. There's a lot that you get. And I won't go into the details here, but you want to investigate really closely how big the benefits are. They're really big. They're really long-term. They're not some flash in the pan. This is not something you're going to do a leaper thing, a leaper frog thing from one thing to the next, and you really don't want this thing longer than a few months. Just get in, get out, make some money, go away. It's something else. No, this is a framework, and it's something that's designed to hold up against time itself, and you can will it into your estate. So your kid, and maybe even your grandkids, if you're having them, we're hoping you're not, but that's another story, will be able to benefit from what you started right now. It's kind of an heirloom thing. So it's not something you're going to just run away from because you got bored with it. It's going to get really hard to get bored with this as it gets bigger, which we don't believe in bigger is better, but when the assets get more interesting, let's put it that way, more interesting and more exciting, and there's more sex that's kind of inherent in them, well, then it gets much more difficult to just leap off like a leapfrog to some other thing that sounds cooler, or whatever reason people leap. I don't know why they leap. Some of the times they probably shouldn't. But this is going to get harder and harder every single week even to leap away from, because it's just going to get cooler and cooler and more interesting and more powerful and higher amounts of leverage all the time. It's not going to stay still for very long. It's just, you're going to come back 3 days later, what happened? I thought I was doing this, now I'm doing this other thing. And it's not that we've changed anything or thrown anything out the window. We just added a bunch of stuff, and now it's bigger as far as it being more robust. That's a good word for it. It's more robust now. There's more stuff, and there's diversity to it, and there's a geographic dispersal to it. It's on more continents now. How'd that happen? It's only been 3 days. I thought this stuff didn't change in 3 years. Well, we change quick. This is an operation that isn't standing still very long, maybe not for 10 minutes. And then we do something new. Then we tell you, guess what? We just bought a yacht. How about that? We're going for an island tomorrow, or maybe even tonight if we get frisky. Okay, so what is also about the mission? And the mission is a big one, and that's part of the marketing, is we have 4 main beneficiaries: the ocean concerns, the big defenders like the sea shepherds, the butyric acid throwers, and the woods holes and the scripts, and the One World, One Oceans, and the Moss Landing Marine Labs, and Oceana, and so forth. And also the land habitat, the Newman salad dressing people, and the rhino people, and the water keepers, and the big kitty rescuers, and the chimp sanctuary people, and on the land side. And then the kids, always about the minor primates, which are not just the sentient ones, they're also the baboons, the lemurs, the aye-ayes, and all of those, the lowland gorillas that are just getting punished by too many people. Too many Homer Gomers running around the planet, not really taking very much responsibility for what they're doing to the other primates, not even admitting they're a primate, which is really, really stupid. And how much does it cost? Well, this is a departure from most things. Most things are one size fits all, here's the money. Here's how much it is. Get out your credit card. Well, this is different. We try to match what people's risk tolerance is and what their budget is and how big they want to build this thing with how they come in, what kind of commission, which is the opposite of what you think a commission is. That's how much you get paid. No, this is a commission in the British Navy, or a commission in the whatever, Australian or Austrian Army, a commission in the project, a commission in the bot. The Knight's commission is what you pay to arrive at a certain grade and within a class of mates who are operating in the same general range of pay grades. So a class would be where you have people who are taking different classes and different courses and they have different skills, but they're all kind of in a similar grouping of people who have the same kind of risk tolerance, often the same level of skills and experience in the industry, and they help each other because they're in the same class, just like you would have a class of people who move along from year to year through primary, secondary, and university, all as a class. What do I have to do? Well, this is also a departure, because what you have to do is pretty much nothing. You don't have to do anything, and in this early part of the project, you're going to make something. And that means something over and above how much you put in. You're going to be profitable really quickly, even if you do nothing. And that doesn't make any sense. That sounds like fraud. It sounds like, no way, this is just a scam. Another one of those, press the buttons and here comes the money. No, this is about really, really powerful leverage that allows us to say that, which is a claim that we're not supposed to make according to the Securities Exchange Commission. I know all about SEC rules, and you're going to have to say a mea culpa. I understand that there's no guarantees, etc. You're going to say it on video for us. We're going to have a video of you saying, my mileage may vary, And that might mean vary all the way down to nothing, but it's going to be extremely difficult for that nothing to happen since we're going to promote you. Yes, the House is going to, and the House has kind of got some power with many, many millions of social media connections and other stuff I won't go into. It's absurdly powerful, and a very small number of knights that are going to be doing this are going to get the benefit of the House, and that means they're going to be in the black really quickly, and we do things not like anything else, so it's kind of hard to imagine anyone not being in the black or otherwise in profit in this in pretty short order, even if they do nothing. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do something. Of course you can, and we encourage it, and we would like to see you in person to drive one of the yachts if you have a captain's license. And if you don't, we'll help you get a captain's license so you can drive one of the boats. Or if you want to manage one of the islands and you already have hospitality experience or other kinds of island lifestyle experience, well, we're looking, and we're going to pay, or we're going to otherwise make your business go boom with our ability to, we don't like it, call it traffic. That's stupid. Traffic is just a bunch of losers that don't have a job. We're going to put whales in front of your presence in this, and that means you're going to end up with your own tribe of whales, your own pod of whales. Orcas. You're going to have a big orca pod, and maybe you help manage an island. Maybe it's just a B&B with a yacht standing off of it. Maybe it's just a big 40-foot RV diesel pusher that we buy on your behalf, or you buy with your proceeds, which are going to be substantial, and then off you go with the project and helping the project by tweaking and refining and giving back to the project simply because you said, well, you guys haven't thought of this thing over here, and I've had that from my experience from, 20 years, and haven't you thought about this? And we say, boy, are we stupid. You're smart. Let's do that. And then we test it, and it works, and off we go, and you get credit for it. And you also get lots of cool stuff because we kind of reward people who bring stuff to us, ideas. We encourage the ideas instead of say, oh, you're an idiot, we're smarter than you are, shut up, don't give us the ideas. That's not the way we work. Nope, sorry. If you're going to bring us an idea, it's going to make a whole bunch of money for the project and help the wildlife, well, we're going to reward you in ways you can't even imagine, because we can do that. We have these crazy levers that we pull regularly, and they just bring the money in like we didn't even know it was even there. So what you have to do is simply commit to learning new stuff that you don't know yet, and learning from other people in the project who want to help you learn new stuff that they already know from 50 years of doing it, and so forth. Along that sort of timeline, you're just going to make a lot of money, and you're going to end up becoming the hero, or the heron, I like to call it the heron, of your locality, and so you can help your charities, and you can help them get involved in this if they choose to. A lot of them run from this because they don't even know what the internet is, and that's a problem. We're trying to work on that. Hopefully we'll get better at helping, old folks' homes, nonprofits that really try hard, Lions Club and Seroptimist and, Shriners and other people that still do it all one at a time. They don't even know the internet's there. They don't know the snake is down there at the bottom of the oceans making YouTube fast and free, and Mark Zuckerberg 15 billion in 1 year before he turned 30. They don't know about the snake, the fiber optics that's down at the bottom of the world's oceans, deeper than the submarines of the U.S. Navy with their, nuclear engines. This is 1,000 times more powerful than the U.S. Navy, plus all the other navies in the world put together, but most people don't even know the snake is down there, and it's already returned, a la the Mayan prophecy or the Ragnarok Viking prophecy, all at the same time in the last, 5 or 10 years, and there it is, and that's why all the money's being made. Don't understand it. So it takes a while to educate people on, non-linear getting the money. It takes a while. They don't understand non-linear. Everything's linear. Got to be one more shekel, one more auction, one more, pimp yourself out for a date, one more cookie. Here, buy my cookie. Not another cookie. Buy my light bulb. Yeah, let's sell light bulbs. That'll work. That'll raise enough money to save the world's oceans. I don't think so. Okay, why? Well, the why we do this, one of the things you're going to hear about this project is the term blue ocean strategy, or blue ocean space, blue ocean way of doing things, which is penetrating new markets, new ideas where nobody has tread, nobody's done it before. And that's a hard thing to do because nobody can compare it to the house down the street that has the comp, or something they did before, and it kind of seems like that, so they can kind of have a parity to it, a comparison, and then they feel comfortable with it and they just do it. Well, when you're in the blue ocean mindset of trying to build brand new things that have never been done before, well, that's how you get to monopoly power, but it's also how you get in a lot of trouble, because people don't really understand what monopoly power means, or what VIBOS means, which is value innovation / blue ocean strategy. That's blueoceanstrategy.com. That's Kim and Mawborn from Harvard saying, don't do the red ocean stuff. Don't do the stuff that everybody else is doing. Turn around, go the other way, just like Owner of a Lonely Heart, where the guy turns around and goes against the crowd, and then invent something no one's ever done before, and then just you kind of walk on water, wind on the water, so to speak. See David Crosby, Graham Nash, wind on the water. You just go out to sea and you're done. You don't really play by anybody else's rules when you do blue ocean strategy, VIBOS, value innovation. That means you just innovated something of value that nobody's ever done before, and nobody even knows how to compare it to something in the roll top desk cubbyhole. It's got to be right next to that one. Nope, they can't figure that one out. And so they have trouble signing on to that new thing, because that must be, there's something wrong with it. Something fishy, there's probably something illegal, it's probably something that the Attorney General of my state doesn't like very much, or my mother-in-law says is a bad thing, so they just don't do it. And that's where venture capitalism, and that's where vision, and that's where the limited partnership in real estate, where the thing hasn't been built yet, comes into play. You need the people who think big enough to be able to put the money into a venture where you're dealing with monopoly power, because they see it. They kind of feel that, they sort of have this sixth sense about, man, that seems like a monopoly. That seems like something that's never been done before, and that's going to go boom, and I feel that, and I'm going to do it anyway. Even if it might not be the safest of investments, this one happens to be, because it's all kind of proven, because it's all about sex sells itself, which is just sort of ancient. I mean, like immortal, like forever kind of thing that life does, is if it feels good, you're going to just do more of it. All right, so that would be the why. Another part of the why is we have this very strange departure from how humans think, and it goes like this in 3 words: work is stupid. And that's just kind of like, wait a minute. Mom told me that work was a good idea. So did the minister. So did the girlfriend told me I had to work. Everybody wants me working. Working is supposed to be what sets you free, according to Hitler. And work is just what everybody does, so I should do it too, right? Well, not so much. I mean, work is linear. It's kind of linear. And when you work real hard, you work like a worker bee, work. Well, you make money based on hours spent. It's kind of trade time for money, we say that. And work kind of tends to favor the stupid, who just, and I don't want to call people who work really hard stupid, that's really not fair, but it's primitive and it's not leveraged. Work is not leveraged unless you're doing something more than just working for another hour, for another dollar, because somebody said they'd pay you that much. It doesn't matter whether you're in business for yourself and you're billing out at $100 an hour, you're still working for that $100 for an hour. Maybe they didn't even collect it because they wouldn't pay you. Or they said, I'll settle for $70 for that hour. That's not leveraged. That's not very bright. And we don't like that. We think play is better than work. And that's not playing a guitar, and it's not playing the field for a husband so you can marry them and get the money, and it's not playing in a Hollywood film or a theatrical performance off Broadway. That's not the playing we're talking about. We're talking about having a whole bunch of fun a whole bunch of sex, making a whole bunch of whoopee with a whole bunch of drugs and rock and roll and sunsets and lobster tails on yachts, and then putting it on camera and making a ridiculous sum of money because people want that. They want that lifestyle, and they're willing to pay you to teach them how, or the system to teach them how, and that makes it sell itself. And if you can sell itself in a big fashion without any cost, because the physical network simply backs up the digital, and the digital doesn't cost a single dime to send another one out except for a few pennies of bandwidth and maybe a disc that costs you 15 cents to make, well, you're kind of walking on water. That's what you're doing with a digital franchise that's backed by physical sex products, sex toys, or the things that make your brain go, wee, dose, a big dose of dose, which is dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, the things that make your brain go crazy when you're having sex or when you're on a yacht or when you're running around half naked or completely naked on your own island with some people and some stuff and some fires at night and things. And then off you go swimming out to the yacht for some sailing and some diving, and you just learned how to be a dive master also. Now you're certified. Cool. So the why is also that why you would be doing this is because it simply works. I mean, this is a really, really hard thing to screw up if you're talking about selling people their own brain chemicals. That's really all anyone is buying if there's not food, clothing, and shelter. Even shelter, you're buying the brain chemicals of a $300,000 abode or a $1 million abode instead of a $100 Walmart tent. That's all you really need to keep the sun and the rain off of your dog and be able to cook your meal without it getting soggy. But you end up buying the $1 million tent instead because of the brain chemicals. You really don't need it. You don't have to have it, but it makes you feel good to be bigger than the next guy or be more comfortable or build a library, which would actually make you money because you actually had a library of your own in the slightly larger abode than the tent. And then that just makes all the sense in the world. All of a sudden, look at that. But it just works. If you're selling people their own brain chemicals, that doesn't cost very much, if anything. I mean, it's simply a very nominal or de minimis cost compared to the cost of, I don't know, what everything sells for at Walmart has a 90% cost of sales. And it's just really expensive to pay for the darn stuff and move it and stock it and pay for employees and all the mess that comes with employees and insurance and buildings and everything. I'm a CPA. I see that cost of sales and what a big chunk of the gross sales that comes in, it swallows up whole before you even get to the overhead of administration and taxes and all those things. And we just cut all of that away with dose marketing because we're simply selling people their own brain chemistry with a lifestyle that's on video that doesn't cost anything because of the snake, and Ustream, which doesn't cost anything because of the snake. It's always about the snake. That's why Facebook is worth $150 billion. That's why Amazon is going to do $100 billion this year in gross sales. Is the snake, the snake, the snake, which is the fiber at the bottom of the world's oceans, connects all the continents, makes all this stuff free and fast, really fast, a whole bunch faster than it was a few years ago when the snake wasn't down there. But you put it on a wire, you put it on electrical, it just kind of attenuates. That means it degrades, the signal does, and you don't get the same amount of video, and you can't watch all these videos all day long on your iPad or your iPod or whatever, your notebook, at home on a big screen. You can't do it if you don't have the snake. You got to have the snake. That's the Mayan prophecy. Return of the snake. Where? Okay, the geographic scope of this is everywhere. I mean, you can do this from the poles with an icebreaker, with an ice-class hull. You can do it from the poles, as long as you can get to a satellite in geostationary orbit to get to the internet, or you just waltz back into a port somewhere that has a cafe and you upload some stuff and you do some stuff. Here comes more money. Done. Not difficult to do this from anywhere on the planet. You're not tied to a spot anymore. There's no tether. You don't have a business that's a dirigible and it's tethered to the ground at a station, and only people that are within X number of miles of the dirigible can come visit you. Nope. It's all over the planet, 24 time zones, 6 inhabited continents, maybe even some people looking at penguins down in the 7th one in the Southern Ocean. Maybe. It's a lot, though. There's 3 billion people connected to the internet, and a whole bunch of them learned English while we weren't looking in the last few years. They just all learned English. Even old people did, from weird places like Africa and Eastern Europe. They all learned English. So the geo coordinates are astonishing. Just in the last few years, they've just gotten huge. Seaports and islands. So we're looking at establishing places where we tend to hang out and we tend to talk to each other, talk amongst ourselves. We do our Verklempt thing, see Mike Myers, Saturday Night Live, in places where there are people that have money and influence and yachts, and they're talking about business, or they're talking about making money. They're not talking about complaining about costs or taxes like most people do. This is important to migrate into those places and become comfortable being there and participate in the events. We call them ICPs, or influence choke points. Whether it's a film festival or a music festival or a business conference or whatever it is, where people gather and they're actually thinking. Amazing. They're actually thinking about money, and they're thinking about doing better, and maybe they're even thinking about helping the Earth's living systems. How about that? That'd be cool. Maybe they're even both. Maybe they want to make money and they also want to help the world's living systems at the same time, and maybe even their local charity at the same time, and their family. They can do all of that all at once. How do we do that? Well, we just thought about it for longer. We thought about it. We worked at this hard to make this a special way of helping and earning or getting. We call it money getting memetics, or just picking large chunks of money up off the sand of a favorite beach, and because you put it on video, here comes more money. And I've got just listed here mountain escapes. I mean, it's not just about going offshore with a boat, which is just an island that moves its coordinates, or with an island that's just a mountain that's fixed to the bottom of the ocean. It's also the mountains that are on the land, and that moves you up off of sea level, where most of the cities are, with the exception of a Denver or some other cities that are up in the air. They're still concentrated groups of people where you get crazy. What you want by going up in the mountains is to get away from people and get comfortable again and rediscover your roots of being essentially a wild animal again, that can think for yourself and can operate independently of somebody telling you how to think and what to do next and what time it is and what the weather's going to be, and all of the things that humans do for each other are powerful, and they can be constructive, but they can also really turn you into brain mush, because it's so confusing and it really doesn't make your brain exercise itself, and so you stop thinking for yourself, and then you get into a whole bunch of trouble financially and socially and everything else, because you've got way too many people around you and you haven't gotten out of Dodge and figured out that that is where you get your sanity back, and that's where you get your footing and your base of who you are, because we've been doing this outdoor thing in the wilderness, like the animal kingdom, for a whole bunch longer than we've been living on the 60th floor. A whole bunch longer, and that makes more sense to people intrinsically, instinctively, at the base of their brain. They want to live that way, but they're kind of stuck living in that mess of the city with all the human life all around them, and it makes us crazy, and we do bad things to ourselves and other people because we didn't spend enough time where we belong, which is in the wild, which is kind of where we even don't belong, especially not in large numbers. So it's kind of confusing to us. We have to sort that out in order to get it right. It's not an easy thing to sort out, but we can help with perspectives that you might not have thought about, and that's what we teach aboard islands, aboard yachts, in large high country equestrian centers where you can learn to ride horses or just get the rust out if you haven't ridden in a while, or get on a llama train and just spend a week or two in the backcountry and get close to the earth and unwind and think about things differently when you're looking at a big mountain out there and seeing the stars that you haven't seen for a while, because look up in the city and you see one star. Oh goody, one star. That's not the way we're supposed to look up at the sky, and that's not what we're supposed to see at night. We're supposed to see so many stars you can barely see the spaces between them. That's what it's like in the desert. That's what it's like in the high country, in the mountains, as long as there isn't a storm coming in. And learning how to deal with that storm coming in is also what we do. We teach people all of the things they want to learn anyway, and then we do a little bit of marketing on the side, a little bit of marketing training after people have learned flight and navigation and how to ride a horse and how to paddle a boat and how to go down a river and what sea kayaking is about, how to put sails up and how to jump up onto a square rig and let the sail down without losing your life by falling on the deck or falling into the ocean. All of those skills people kind of want to learn, and they kind of never get around to it because they're doing the one-at-a-time thing at the local whatever thing they work for. Okay, and the last part of where is Wheels Are Turning, which is an America song. Albuquerque will be here in the morning. Purple Mountains will rise up from the floor. After that, you can just lift up the curtain and the whole world will be there at your door. That's Wheels Are Turning. That's a song that I got indigocrow.com or org. I forget what I registered. But that is about a return to indigenous people's value systems of returning to the earth, returning to nature, returning to the sea, and becoming a seafarer and getting sane again and getting more in touch with who you are as a enlightened being that belongs on the planet instead of this kind of miserable excuse for a being that we tend to make ourselves into when we're in these huge cities and up way on the 50th floor up and doing crazy stressful things in order to make money and so forth. So at the end of that song, Dewey sings, after his Thunder in the Canyon, he sings once, just once, one lyric, barking. He sings barking in the canyon, which relates to us as a wolf pack, and it also relates to us as a friend of canines, as a dog lover and a dog owner and a dog be the pack leader of dogs. And I won't go into dogs, but my wife and I have been in dog rescue for 30 years, and golden retrievers and beagles and other dogs, pits, and so forth. And you can learn a lot from putting humans next to canines in a social, anthropological framework and say, boy, we seem an awful lot like dogs. Also cats, because our neurological system is closer to the big cats, especially, but all cats, than any other animal. Not more so than dogs, more so than even primates, more so, our neuro system. And so how cats, especially the most social cats, not the ones that are independent like tigers and cheetahs, but the social cats like the lions, are really, really powerful teaching tools to understand better how humans behave, why they do these weird things like the big cats. And primates like chimps and gorillas are really close in behavior to us, much more close than we get comfortable with. And we're learning more all the time about how close we are. So Wheels Are Turning is about getting out of Dodge, and it's about putting your feet to work. It's about Feet of Fire, which is Celtic, which is Lord of the Dance and Flatley and Company. It's about getting in anything that moves you to a different location so that you get a different experience and you meet different people and you learn different things and you see a different horizon and you see a different number of stars in the sky and you meet people that give you a perspective that you didn't have if you stayed in the same 10-mile radius for 50 years. That's what Wheels Are Turning is about. And it's an old idea. It's the vagabond idea. It threatens everything. Almost all institutions are threatened by the idea of a traveling salesman or the traveling hippie or the traveling beatnik or the train spotter, hopper, whatever. It is threatened by people who leave regularly and then go somewhere else. That's not the way these institutions are set up. They want you coming back next Sunday. They want you coming to work on Monday. They don't want you leaving town. They don't want you moving those wheels. They don't want you moving the wheels up here that might take their whole thing apart and call it Santa Barbara. I use Santa Barbara because of the reverse of the two S and B characters. Calling Santa Barbara on all the institutions because you spent some time on foot or on the road, on a bicycle, a motorcycle, an RV, a boat. It doesn't matter. If you put distance between you and where you used to be, you're going to be different. Your chemicals are going to work differently. The people you meet are not going to be the same. That's what it means to move geo-coordinates. And that threatens almost everything in your life. The family, your parents, your siblings, everybody you work with, the boss, the boss's boss, the company itself, the shareholders, all are threatened by you putting those wheels in motion, whether it be the wheels of your car, your broken car, as Dewey likes to say, come as you are in your broken car, or the wheels that turn in your brain when you start to think about this stuff and go, man, this stuff stinks. I want something different. I want to change how I perceive my world and what I do for others, including others that are not human, the non-sentients, the wildlife of the earth, which is kind of important for sentience, assuming we are. I'm not convinced we are. That's another story. So that we can survive longer. I mean, you got to take care of the wildlife and the life web if we're going to survive even another 100 years, never mind 100 million. You got to take care of it. The last one, when we just have a really, really narrow window here because we only need a few hundred people that put in a few thousand and it goes off to the races, then it's going to get real expensive. And this is the little red hen part. I talk about that in some other videos, but basically you're talking about this. If you play the little red hen card, you say, I want to see the money. Show me the money. Where is the money? I want to see the pies on the windowsill. Once they're there, I'll think about it. Well, that's not going to work. That doesn't cut it. Because this is a penny stock, this is visionary, this is the horse racing syndicate, this is the limited partnership in real estate. None of that stuff's built yet. The horse hasn't been born, the penny stock hasn't gone boom, and the building hasn't been built yet. And you're charged with buying a commission in something that hasn't instantiated yet. Now, pretty much all this stuff is proven. And I have rather long discussions in writing, in mind maps, in videos, in audios about how the proof has shown itself kind of quietly and over a period of years in general, and with actually some effort on my part to engineer it to show the proof so you can see it, so that it's more comfortable for you to put in. And also we have this thing of a physical asset that backs your funding of your franchise. I don't like to say the I word because the SEC doesn't like me to say that. But if you have a physical asset, fee simple, free and clear, backing the money that you put into your digital franchise, well, then it's not really the same risk as all these others where you just get, I don't know, a picnic on an island somewhere and they teach you about money or something. That's not the same kind of, the word that I'm looking for is a hedge or a physical asset that backs up or provides collateral. There's the term I want. Collateral for what you put into the project in the first place. And if we don't get marketers to pick up on this and run with it, that's okay, because I can just go after celebrity activists who write big checks for all of this stuff that we're trying to help on an environmental basis anyway. So I don't need marketers. I just want the marketers early on in the project because they help me come up with all this. And I feel I'd like to give back to the marketers. It's kind of like, if you have heard of the term market testing, well, this is sort of slightly different. It's marketer testing to see if marketers, in fact, are the visionaries that they talk about a lot. They pay a lot of lip service to being the visionary and being the seer and seeing farther into the future than others and actually taking risks, risk capital. They talk about a lot of crowdfunding, lots of that. Now the shoe's on the other foot, and are they going to be the risk taker for something like this? And part of that is me telling the story properly. I understand that. I'm not a professional storyteller, although I've had 40 years of practice at it. But a lot of it is, and I believe this, that it's really hard to tell the story that resonates to the right person and have them say no. And it's also hard to tell a story that doesn't resonate with the person that isn't a match and then still get them to do it. And we really don't want the person that's not a match in this. We're going to try to chase people away, which is the opposite of what most people are doing. They're trying to line up 5 credit cards and get you in for some way or another. By hook or by crook, they don't care. As long as they get the money in, then they're good. No, we're trying to push people to the door if it's not a match, if it's not something that they feel comfortable with and that they're comfortable with the risk tolerance level of the pay grade. We don't want to start this off on the wrong foot. We want this on a basis that people are comfortable with us being straight with them and honest with them, that we would like to see them put more in if it makes sense, less in if it makes sense, that much if it's just right, but let's get a match and we'll help you make that decision about where that match lies. And you're going to end up going crazy from there, but the match of the initial money it has a meaning, and there's benefits that only happen once, and so you have to choose the right level. You don't want to underbuy either, because you're going to give up a whole bunch of matching grants and benefits and Easter eggs and goodies if you choose too low, but you don't want to over-invest either or overspend on the franchise either, because you don't want to put yourself at risk of having issues with keeping the lights on, mortgage payments, a car payment, the girl doesn't get her braces paid for, whatever. We want it to be a match, a comfortable match, and there are people who have risk capital and who are looking for a home for that capital, and there are people who don't. And we can kind of, at least in the early going, cover both of those different disparate groups, and then it's going to get a lot harder for people who don't have working capital to become part of this, because we don't need those positions for very long, and then it just doesn't make any sense for us to offer them anymore, because we're moving on to the whales. And when we get the whales hunting other whales, and we have what we call WM, or the abbreviation for the William character in Western history. William is big, royalty and so forth. Presidents, lots of Williams. Whale mimetics is about the whales starting a feeding frenzy with other whales they know. And that is going to make the project turn into a warp factor 13 engine, and then it's kind of over at that point when you have the whales getting excited about recruiting other whales and just picking up the phone or sending out a few emails, and here comes more. And then it gets easier, because all we're doing with that money, we're not putting it in our back pocket, we're not burying it under a rock, we're not putting it off in some offshore instrument. We're simply buying more marketing assets with it, more boats, more mega yachts, more private islands, more mountain hideaways, more bed and breakfast, and a very small amount, a tiny percentage, nevertheless significant, towards the digital framework, the structure, which we're not going to screw around. We know how to build digital structures most people never even knew existed, because the number of people that are involved in this project, the big principals and the people who are our friends and our connections, have literally hundreds, if not thousands, of human years of experience with digital frameworks. And those are scary powerful if they're put to use the way we're going to be putting them to use. So the last thing is tow, tilt or withdraw. This is part of the narrow window. You kind of have to decide to come in, or you're going to be, the decision's going to be made for you, because if you don't get involved, then you're not involved. If you don't say, there's no I think about it, I'll think about it, maybe I'll do it. There's no waiting for somebody to give you a validation or hoping that you get to see that next boat in before you decide. No, you're going to get a small number of days and you're going to get a small window, and then it's going to go way up in price or not even be available to you at all because you had your chance, you had your X number of days to make a decision and you didn't. You just waffled and thought about it and then didn't think about it very much, and then the time expired, and now you get to wait till next year, if we even invite you again, which we may not. This is invite only. This is a yacht club model, not an open door policy. Anybody can waltz in here a month from now, a year from now, 2 weeks from now, and just buy it again, or with a different, like, log in from the library or friend's house. Nope, not going to be able to do that. You're going to end up with all the information saying, here's when you were invited, here's how many days you have, it expired, see you next year maybe. That's kind of how tilt or withdraw works. So I'll leave it at that, and you can look at all the other videos. If you want more information, call us, Skype us, email us. There's all kinds of ways to contact us or see what we're up to. Just do it, and don't get caught with your pants down doing the little red hen dance where you said, not I want to see the pies on the windowsill, and no, the pies are 300 times what they used to be a few weeks ago. This is a different thing than just a dime sale where it goes up 10 cents or $1. It's going to be a big, huge difference once we get past these important vessels, and then we can just charge essentially mall prices for people with money. That's what's going to happen once we have the base of the thing built.